Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Do you feel like you're here for a purpose? Do you have a vision of what your life could be? If you have a feeling that there's more that you're meant to do or be or have, you want to set it as a goal, something that even if it's a fantasy, you can turn into a target, something that you're going after. And unless you create it as this I will do, this is where I'm going, this is my destination, this is my purpose, and I'm going to make it a goal so that I can live the life I'm meant to live because I am here for a purpose. I want you to think about that. Take a deep breath in and let that go. You are here as a divine, infinite energy. You're living in a physical body. You've been gifted with an intellect, with the ability to reason, to think, to decide, to choose. You've been gifted with an intuition, and you can tap into that and know that there's something more. And each one of us wants more. That's not greed, that's not selfishness, unless you're just wanting it for yourself. But as you want more and more and more, your wanting more creates a deep desire, and it creates more in this whole universe for other people to enjoy. That's how the airplane was invented. That's how the light bulb was invented. That's how your cell phone was invented. Someone having a desire for more to create something bigger and better for the enjoyment of all. Imagine a world where not only did you not have a cell phone, you didn't have a telephone or a television set, or you didn't have the ability to jump in a motor vehicle and drive wherever you want. Someone thought of these things and made them into physical experiences. We're doing that all the time. The thoughts that you think are creating your life. Rather than continuing to look at what is, spend a little bit of time deciding, what would you like? What do you want? What would you prefer to bring into your physical experience? Everyone has challenges. Everyone has troubles and problems and grief. But when we dwell in those places, we stay in a world that we don't prefer. We stay feeling sorry for ourselves. You can turn that energy around so quickly, especially when you look at what you can do for other people. If you're feeling depressed, worried, anxious, the best remedy is to go out and help someone else. Serve at a food bank, make a phone call to someone who's lonely, provide a gift to someone just because. Brighten someone's day. When you do that, they feel better, and that allows you to feel better. And the better you feel, the better actions you take, and the better actions you take, the better the world becomes for you and everyone else. You don't have to worry about what you want coming true for you, because if this is a seed that is planted in your heart, it's a deep desire, and you have faith that it's yours, it's coming. You don't have to worry about when, you don't have to figure out how. You just need to remember who you are and become that. I'm going to read the chapter, The Principle of Guidance, from the book The Hidden Power, written by Thomas Troward. He says, if I were asked which of all the spiritual principles ranked first, I should feel inclined to say the principle of guidance, not in the sense of being more essential than the others, for every portion is equally essential to the completeness of a perfect whole, but in the sense of being first in order of sequence and giving value to all our other powers by placing them in their due relation to one another. Giving value to our powers, I say, because this also is one of our powers. It is that which, judged from the standpoint of personal self-consciousness, is above us, but which, realized from the point of view of the unity of all spirit, is part and parcel of ourselves, because it is that infinite mind which is of necessity identified with all its manifestations. Looking to this infinite mind as a superior intelligence from which we may receive guidance does not therefore imply looking to an external source. On the contrary, it is looking to the innermost spring of our own being with a confidence in its action which enables us to proceed to the execution of our plans with a firmness and assurance that are in themselves the very guarantee of our success. The action of the spiritual principles in us follows the order which we impose upon them by our thought. I'm going to say that again. The action of the spiritual principles in us follows the order which we impose upon them by our thought. Therefore, the order of realization will reproduce the order of desire. And if we neglect this first principle of right, order, and guidance, we shall find ourselves beginning to put forth other great powers which are at present latent within us, without knowing how to find suitable employment for them, which would be a very perilous condition. For without having before us objects worthy of the powers to which we awake, we should waste them on petty purposes dictated only by the narrow range of our unilluminated intellect. Therefore, the ancient wisdom says, with all thy getting, get understanding. When you have an idea, a wish, a dream, something that you really want, don't dismiss it. That is the God energy inside of you, the creative power wishing to express more. But you have to have a destination, a goal. This I will do, because your mind is a goal achieving machine. And if you don't give it a destination, it's just going to run around looking at what is and what was. What you truly desire in your heart is meant for you, and it is meant for you because it's a divine message. It is what your purpose is, what you're here to accomplish. And you must put your trust in yourself, in the universal intelligence, in your inner knowing, your inner guidance system. Thomas Troward says the awakening to consciousness of our mysterious interior powers will sooner or later take place and will result in our using them whether we understand the law of their development or not, just as we already use our physical faculties, whether we understand their laws or not. The interior powers are natural powers as much as the exterior ones. So we don't want to rely on our physical abilities alone. We know that we've been gifted with 5 physical factors. We can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and that's how we are interpreting the outside world. But with our reasoning ability, with our perception of what's going on around us and whether we decide something is challenging or easy, we decide if it's meant for us or we're not worthy. When we change our thinking, when we change our perception, everything becomes possible. Tap into that inner knowing, that inner guidance system, that intuition, that higher faculty that you've been gifted with. And using your imagination to view the world as you want it to be, as it is in your marvelous mind, imagining what it would feel like, what it would look like if that was brought into your physical experience, and doing that despite what's going on in your outside circumstances. Pay more attention to what you would have come into your experience than what has already taken up your attention. How do we do that? By designing a beautiful picture, imagining what we really want as if it's ours already, and visualizing it, not just seeing it on the screen of your mind, but being an active participant in it. When you imagine what you really desire as if it's real, you might see colors when you close your eyes and envision what you want. Some people can see it clearly in color. Some people can get so immersed in it, they can smell the smells and hear the sounds and see the vibrant colors of their desire already manifested. Now, that's not something that I've been able to create in my own life yet. When I close my eyes, I don't see colors, but I know people who do. When I focus on what I truly desire, it's more of a conceptual idea. But as as you find pictures on the internet, if you sketch pictures, getting into a feeling of a past event that meant so much to you, it warmed your heart, it overtook your whole experience. You feel the love radiating out from you. You can tap into those ideas, those feelings, and project that into the future because that's meant for you. It's only buried under ideas that it's not for you. It's too hard, it's too big, it's too much. You can practice seeing what you really desire so clearly in your mind that it becomes a future memory, not a past memory of something that's already happened. but how you want it to be, and practice it, rehearse it so often that when it happens, it's not a surprise. It's an expectation that you have. Our interior powers are natural powers as much as the exterior ones. Thomas Troward says we can direct their use by a knowledge of their laws, and it is therefore of the highest importance to have some sound principle of guidance in the use of these higher faculties as they begin to manifest themselves. If, therefore, we would safely and profitably enter upon the possession of the great inheritance of power that is opening out before us, we must, before all things, seek to realize in ourselves that superior intelligence which will become an unfailing principle of guidance if we will only recognize it as such. When you write out your goal, when you get calm and still and imagine yourself already in the place of your desire, that energy builds and it comes from inside of you. Everything depends on our recognition. Thoughts are things, and therefore, as we will our thoughts to be, so we will the thing to be. If then we will use the infinite spirit as a spirit of guidance, we shall find that the fact is as we have willed it. And in doing this, we are still making use of our own supreme principle. And this is a true understanding which, by placing all the other powers in their correct order, creates one grand unity of power directed to clearly defined and worthy aims in place of the dispersion of our powers. Thomas Troward says if we don't direct our power, our energy to what we want, our power is dispersed, and that only neutralizes everything. It affects nothing. I'm going to read this paragraph again. Going back to the action of the spiritual principles in us follows the order which we impose upon them by our thought. Therefore, the order of realization will reproduce the order of desire. And if we neglect this first principle of right order and guidance, we shall find ourselves beginning to put forth other great powers which are at present latent within us, without knowing how to find suitable employment for them, which would be a very perilous condition. For without having before us objects worthy of the powers to which we awake, we should waste them on petty purposes dictated only by the narrow range of our unilluminated intellect. Therefore, the ancient wisdom says, with all thy getting, get understanding. The awakening to consciousness of our mysterious interior powers will sooner or later take place and will result in our using them, whether we understand the law of their development or not, just as we already use our physical faculties, whether we understand their laws or not. The interior powers are natural powers as much as the exterior ones. The reason, perception, intuition, imagination, will, and memory, we can direct their use by a knowledge of their laws, and it is therefore of the highest importance to have some sound principle of guidance in the use of these higher faculties as they begin to manifest themselves. If, therefore, we would safely and profitably enter upon the possession of the great inheritance of power that is opening out before us, we must, before all things, seek to realize in ourselves that superior intelligence which will become an unfailing principle of guidance if we will only recognize it as such. Everything depends on our own recognition of the superior intelligence within us. Everything depends on our recognition. Thoughts are things, and therefore, as we will our thoughts to be, so we will the thing to be. If then we will to use the infinite spirit as a spirit of guidance, we shall find that the fact is as we have willed it. And in doing this, we are still making use of our own supreme principle. And this is the true understanding, which, by placing all the other powers in their correct order, creates one grand unity of power directed to clearly defined and worthy aims, in place of the dispersion of our powers, by which they only neutralize each other and affect nothing. This is that spirit of truth which shall guide us into all truth. It is a sincere desire of us reaching out after truth. Truth first and power afterwards is the reasonable order which we cannot invert without injury to ourselves and others. But if we follow this order, we shall always find scope for our powers in developing into present realities the continually growing glory of our vision of the ideal. The ideal is the true real, but it must be brought into manifestation before it can be shown to be so. And it is in this that the practical nature of our mental studies consists. It is the practical mystic who is the man of power, the man who, realizing the mystical powers within, fits his outward action to this knowledge, and so shows his faith by his works. And assuredly, the first step is to make use of that power of infallible guidance, which he can call to his aid simply by desiring to be led by it. You are a true infinite spirit when you believe that the infinite is flowing to and through you, and you sit quietly and ask for guidance. You will start to recognize the power within you to create your deepest desires. You want peace and respect? You must give it first. You want love and vital health? You must be in that energy. What does health and vitality feel like? Sit and imagine yourself tapping into infinite intelligence, into God energy, into the spirit of guidance. When you're still and quiet, you can tap into your creative energies, and rather than dismissing, recognize it. Bring it into physical reality. When you have a deep desire, it's the coming attraction of your life. You will go through challenges. You will go through difficulties. You will go through periods of grief and feeling like you're in the middle of the forest. You don't just stand there in the middle of the forest. You decide where you're going and you take action and you move in the direction of the light. You move in the direction of the life that you desire. Your attitude, what you think, how you feel, and the actions that you take creates your life, your world, your experience, your circumstances. A great leader is being led from within. They have an understanding of the unseen aspect of life. It doesn't matter what's going on the outside. A person who has a vision, a purpose, who is leading their life the way they choose, they remain focused with total confidence and faith. Know that you are moving in the direction of attaining your deepest desire. What is it that you desire? Understand that you have it within you. Develop the faith. Trust your inner guidance system. A person who is an effective leader is truly a creative visionary. They quietly and calmly follow the little voice within that tells them the way to go. You don't need advice from people around you. You don't need to listen to the opinions of the masses who are not understanding your dream. You tap into that divine energy within you. Listen to that still small voice. Write about what you truly want to bring into your physical experience, how you want to be living, what that feels like, what that looks like. Ask for guidance for the day. Send love to 3 people who are bothering you and create a wonderful day. Decide where you're going and with the faith that it's yours, it's here now, it's meant for you. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7. And for my clients, I'll meet you back here at 9 o'clock to talk about being a leader in your own life, the most valuable person. Thank you.